Come on, Eden, Robert. Morning to you.
Morning, Mr. Cullen.
Business good?
Seems wide enough for both of us.
The Irish trade, eh? Well, I don't blame you, my boy. Don't blame you. There's a penny or two to be picked up there if you're in a small way of business. Good day to you.
Right. 2 man per day. Right.
Is that all you could find?
That's all that was left. I'm afraid Callan got there first.
I see.
Well, he cut his prices, shilling a family and packed his ship to the gunnels. These are latecomers. 6pence a head, babes in arms free.
Poor devils. 7 and 6pence a head.
Have you arrived, Your Honour?
Aye. Oh, get ashore with you and look sharp about it.
Thank you, Your Honour. Come on now. You give me the child. There you are, Dan. Don't cry, don't cry. Hurry up now. Come on, hurry up, boys. Don't keep the men waiting. Come on now. Come on, you're all right, John. Come on. Come on now, don't keep the gentlemen waiting. Come on. Don't cry, darling. Don't cry. Come on. Come on, walk on. Quick about it, everybody. Come on, darling. Come on, boys. Thank you. Thank you, sir. God bless you. Thank you, sir.
More cheap labour for Callan to grow fat on. 3 and 6pence. Oh, we shall grow very fat on that, won't we?
Well, they walk aboard, walk ashore, care for themselves. It isn't much, but it's a clear profit. If we'd had a shipload of them, we'd be singing a different tune.
So, what other cargo did you find me?
A couple of porkers and 6 bales of linen.
A couple of porkers.
Oi! Another dozen casks. Where do you want them? On deck.
Right, Mr. Baines. Clean the hold out and get ready to load casks for Lisbon.
We got a boatload?
Enough to fill it twice over. That's where the profit lies. Portuguese casks, not Irish porkers. Sharp as you like, Mr. Baines. An idle ship eats money.
Blasted casks. It's bad enough having an upstart merchantman for a son-in-law without him turning me quarters into a warehouse.
Business, Father, until James finds a suitable repository.
Can't even get out to the petty without fighting my way through pyramids of empties. They'll be lodged in the bedrooms next, I should wonder.
Father, do stop grumbling. Another new suit.
A gentleman is expected to cut a figure, a point which seems to be lost on that penny-pinching husband of yours, doling out this miserable half-guinea a week, keeping a man of substance on short commons, robbing me of my ship, turning me only daughter's head with fine-sounding promises.
Where are you getting all this money from?
That whippersnapper James is not the only one with his head screwed on the right way.
And a new watch.
Even a gentleman wants to know the time upon occasions. 4 bells. I'll be off to be constitutional.
Not until I know where this money's coming from. If you're running us into debt, James...
I spend my own money in my own way and account to no man. Be small to that jumped-up second boots of a son-in-law.
James has kept his side of the bargain. He promised to take care of you, and he's doing so.
Then I shall be a burden upon him no longer. Tonight I'm dining with friends, real friends, who know a man's worth.
You'll not be late.
I come and go as I please in my own house. Thank you very kindly.
My, we do look smart this evening.
Blasted casks.
Our father seems to have found the Midas touch. Wish I had his good fortune.
He must be borrowing it.
Well, I'll not be responsible for his debts.
But James, if
No,
he's
no,
from...
no, I've other things on my mind. You see, the Braganza's casks are arriving by the cartload. I need to get a warehouse, and then more ships.
Sometimes, James, I think you're inhuman.
What?
Your entire concern is with warehouses, casks and ships.
Well, what else should concern me? I grant you, the coastal trade doesn't bring in much profit. Coals to Ireland, salt to the Isle of Man's hardly going to keep us in the lap of luxury, but it is a beginning.
You're never at home.
You call this a home? Now, you're right. We should look for other lodgings.
What, rent to pay, furniture to buy?
Living in your father's house. You need a home of your own to look after.
What we need and what we get are two different... No, you'll ruin the bread. You'll ruin us all, James. My father, your brother Robert. The trouble is, you'll never listen. You listen to no one but James Onedin.
You're right. There's only one thing for it. We must get a warehouse.
We've no money to rent even a house, and you talk of renting a warehouse.
Buying a warehouse.
Buying a warehouse? And where would you hope to find such premises?
As Jack walked one morning, Point Beach up and down, he spied pretty Polly of Mary Portland Town. As soon as Jack seen her most beautiful...
I'm telling you it's cotton. Look at these muckles. Dusted, but all rubbish. Hardly worth handling. You ought to be paying me to take this lot from you. 3 shillings the lot. Keep your thieving hands off or I'll have the eye off you.
Well, what do you think of it?
But it's a rag and bone yard. You can't be serious.
Yes, I am.
But what about them? You can't have them in here and your cusks.
They'll have to sort their rags some other place, won't they?
What, you throw them out?
Look, let's not jump our fences. Lady over there may well be the owner.
Indeed, money isn't always in the pocket of fine clothes.
Yes, gentlemen. How can I oblige? Brassware? Clothes of shoddy? Shoes as good as new for your workers?
Are you the owner?
Me? No, I'm not. If you're a pair of jacks, you'll find everything in order here. This is no swag shop. Here are gambles as honest as the day is long.
No, we're not a pair of jacks.
I knew it the moment I set eyes on you. There, I said to myself, is a fine pair of gentlemen. Get back to your work or I'll have this scalp the hide off you. Can't trust them an inch, sir. Thieves, every one of them. Steal the arse out of your trousers if they could.
They look half-starved to me.
Your overheads must be quite high.
What?
Your landlord must charge a pretty high rent.
Oh, I couldn't afford high rent, sir. No, I will say this for Mr. Arkwright. He was a true benefactor, if ever there was one. A true benefactor.
Did you say?
He passed on. God rest his unhappy soul.
Well, then, to whom do you pay your accounts, eh?
To the collector, of course. 7 shillings a week, regular as clockwork.
But on whose account does he collect?
Mrs. Arkwright. He was a grand employer, but she outlived him. She'd outlive the devil herself, I think.
Are we acquainted with a Mr. Onedin?
I don't think so, Mrs. Arkwright.
Here, what do you make of it?
He asked for the favour of an appointment.
I know that, you fool.
Upon a matter of business.
Business? So what do I know of business matters? Is he a gentleman, do you think?
Well,
I doubt it. No gentleman could possibly write so legible a hand. A professional man?
Yes, possibly.
I'll not have tradesmen under my roof, Simmons.
Yes, Mrs. Arkwright. I shall write to the gentleman, explaining that you're indisposed.
You'll
and
do
that
nothing
you
of the sort. I shall write to him myself. I shall reply in polite but vague terms, inquiring as to the nature of his business.
All right, you leave it there. I'll help myself.
I don't care.
Not so loud.
If you think more of me than your ship, we shall marry right away.
The banns must first be announced. That would take 3 weeks. I shan't be ashore that long. Be reasonable, sweetheart.
Reasonable. You ask me to be reasonable
Shh.
Do you understand?
We've been through all this before. Mr. Callan has given me his word, and the moment I am master...
I've heard the same song for the past 18 months, and I'm tired.
Promise.
Oh, you're quick enough with your promises, Daniel Fogarty. When we were together in the ship's cabin, you were only too eager to promise me the world.
And I meant every word.
You pleaded your case very well.
You were not averse.
The situation between us changed that night. Surely you must see that. We must be married now.
And we will be, as soon as Mr. Callan makes me master.
Captain Webster.
Mr. Fraser, evening to you, sir, evening.
Doing yourself proud, has he?
Oh, just a tap upon the table, sir, no more. I believe I owe you an account, sir. Your father, that is. I've been meaning to drop in at the shipyard for some time.
This is not my place of business, sir.
For a year or two back, sir, it must have slipped my memory. £7 and 10 shillings, I think. Work on my ship. Excellent work, sir. Couldn't ask for better. No praise too high.
If you'll call upon my father's clerk in the morning, sir. Good night, you, sir.
Oh, Mr. Fraser, what a delightful surprise.
Miss Elizabeth. Mr. Fogarty.
If you're unaccompanied, Mr. Fraser, perhaps you'll join us.
I am unaccompanied, yes, so if I may.
Oh, please do.
I shall commence with the same course, then you may not claim the advantage of me.
We're having the saddle of mutton.
Then to our muttons let it be. Ah, a still wine, I see. An excellent aid to the digestion, I always think. But for good fellowship, one can't beat the bubbly. A bottle of the Widow, if you please. Will you be sailing soon, Mr. Fogarty?
Within the next day or two, the moment the wind shifts.
How long will you be away, Daniel?
To Oslo and back, a matter of weeks.
I've heard you're to be made master soon, Mr. Fogarty.
Mr. Callan has promised me the first available berth.
If he keeps his promise.
I've always found Mr. Callan to be a man of his word, sir.
It's a rare quality in the world of commerce. But allow me to offer you my congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
And then we're to be married.
My felicitations to both. Has Mr. Callan named the date of your promotion? Thank you, I'm sure that'll be absolutely splendid. Well, to the bonds of matrimony, true love and ambition. Formidable partnership.
You must lie abed today, my love.
What about your breakfast?
There's nothing wrong with Elizabeth's cooking that a good healthy appetite won't cure.
Oh, who on earth is that at this time of the morning?
It's James. Is there no peace from the man? All right, I'll be down directly.
Oh, Elizabeth. How thoughtful of you. Is it all right?
I think I should call the midwife.
She won't come until it's time.
Confound that man. Has he no patience? Now think, oh, my love. You lie abed today, do you?
Yes, Robert. And no more partnerships with your brother James.
You take me for that much of a fool? All right, I'm coming.
Does it hurt much? At times. But don't tell Robert. You know what a worry he is. He thinks I'm undergoing pleasant sensations and he's the one that's doing all the suffering.
Aren't you frightened?
I'm looking forward to it, really.
Sarah. When... How did you first know?
Elizabeth. You shouldn't ask such questions till after you're married.
Handsome would have done, men of substance would have their own carriage.
Two gentlemen.
What sort of carriage?
Oh, very handsome, Mrs. Arkwright. Very handsome.
Come away from the window, Simmons, and stand by me. Mr. Onedin? I did not invite him here. Mr. James Onedin presents his compliments and asks that he and Mr. Robert Onedin may be granted the favour of a few minutes' conversation. Impertinence. I've a mind to send him packing. Ethel, you may show the gentleman in, and we shall take tea. The Darjeeling, mind, not the China.
Yes.
I shall not waste good China tea on persons who can only afford one card between them. Very well, Ethel, you may go.
Mrs. Arkwright, it occurs to me...
What?
That's... Oh, no.
Then hold your tongue.
Yes.
The gentleman, ma'am.
It's quite impossible to find a decent class of servant these days.
I apologise for the inconvenience of the hour, Mrs. Arkwright. May I present Mr. Robert Onedin, my brother and business partner?
And you, I take it, are Mr. James Onedin?
Mrs. Arkwright.
My companion, Miss Simmons. What is the nature of the business which brings you here so hot foot, Mr. Onedin?
Well, I have an interest in shipping.
What sort of interest?
I am an owner, madam.
I have no such interest, so far as I'm aware. And when it comes to matters of business, I prefer to be represented by my lawyer.
Oh, I would agree, Mrs. Arkwright, that once we have established grounds for negotiations, lawyers may very well be necessary to protect our mutual interests. But at the moment, I'd consider them both a waste of time and money.
Your time and my money, no doubt.
My time I find to be a commodity in increasingly short supply.
Is your brother the silent partner?
My brother had the consideration to accompany me out of his high regard for the proprieties.
Oh?
A lady so recently bereaved might not have cared to receive a gentleman unaccompanied.
You show great delicacy of feeling. It does you credit.
Wonder if we might have a few moments' private conversation.
If Mr. Onedin has a botanical interest, I'm sure that Miss Simmons would deem it a pleasure to conduct him to the conservatory.
I should be more than delighted.
There's no reason to remain standing, Mr. Onedin. Now, what is this business you wish to discuss?
Oh, they are fine plants.
Yes.
They're very fine plants. Is gardening one of your interests, Miss Simmons?
Yes.
Oh, well, they are. They're very fine plants.
That is the eucalyptus.
Oh, I wouldn't have known. No, I wouldn't have known that.
It's from Australia and said to be of great economic importance.
Oh, you don't say.
Many species produce valuable timber and oils of various kinds.
Eucalyptus oil?
And menthol.
Of course.
And thymol.
Oh, my soul, I would never have known. Oh, I'm extremely sorry.
That's Master Destra.
Well, I thought they grew them in pots in the foyers of the better class hotels.
And in front parlours.
And Mrs. Gamble is guaranteed tenure at a fixed rate of 7 shillings a week.
You are well informed, Mr. Onedin.
Well, I can see that the presence of Mrs. Gamble in the articles of her trade might prove to be a stumbling block if you ever considered selling the warehouse. You have considered selling it, I take it.
Mr. Onedin, since the death of my husband, I've not been well enough to consider mundane matters of business.
I believe, however, that you did have an offer from Mr. Callan.
Oh, yes, that's right. I'd quite forgotten.
But on learning that he couldn't get rid of Mrs. Gamble, he withdrew his offer.
You said that you had a figure in mind, Mr. Onedin.
Yes, I have. £200.
£200?
A fair offer. Little above market value, I'd say.
Darjeeling, Mr. Onedin?
I prefer it.
Thank you, Ethel. Cream.
Thank you.
You may have the warehouse, Mr. Onedin. For £650.
James!
Ask those gentlemen to keep their voices down, will you, dear? There, my little love. The first one is always by far the worst. Come on now.
You, Miss Simmons seems to have taken quite a fancy to you, Robert.
What?
Well, laughing and giggling away there in the conservatory. I think you've made a conquest.
How can you say such a thing, James, with Sarah up there?
What is down? Have you no thought of anybody but yourselves?
How is she? Is she all right?
Does that sound as though she's all right? You should be praying for her, not arguing with him.
Down, she was married.
Listen to me, James. Miss Simmons is a lady of retiring disposition and great delicacy of nature.
Yes, I know.
And you're as cold-blooded as a fish.
Listen, Robert, the mind can only concentrate fully upon one problem at a time. My immediate problem is the acquisition of a warehouse.
Oh.
Now, why does Mrs. Arkwright require £650? Why that precise sum?
The problem is not why Mrs. Arkwright requires £650, but where are you going to lay hands on such a sum?
But I'd lay a guinea that Miss Simmons knows the reason why.
Miss Simmons? Yeah. Well, she's not likely to discuss her employer's business with me.
But there'd be no harm in you talking to her, eh?
But James, I am a married man!
More than that, you're a father.
Mr. Onedin? I received your little note, Mr. Onedin. Such a mysterious billet doux.
My intentions are strictly honourable, Miss Simmons.
Oh, but of course, Mr. Onedin. I should not have come had I imagined otherwise.
Quite.
I flatter myself that I'm a fair judge of character, though not wholly accustomed to the attentions of the stronger sex.
I assure you, Miss Simmons.
But I read you instantly as a man of heart and sensibility.
But I know a little tea shop where we can talk. It was most kind of you to give me so much of your time, Miss Simmons.
Oh, it's most kind of you to ask me, Mr. Onedin. I'm usually at quite a loose end on my free afternoon. I have one free afternoon a month.
Is that all?
Well, I'm not a servant, Mr. Onedin.
Oh, no, of course not. I merely meant that a lady of your...
Yes?
Well, of your attainments would find herself a better occupation than sitting in a tea shop with a stale old bun like myself.
Oh, but I do not think you a stale old bun, Mr. Onedin. I think you're a kind and generous man.
Oh, dear. I hesitate to ask
Oh, but you must. Oh, I'm overwhelmed with curiosity. It was such a mysterious note and on such short acquaintance.
It was unforgivable of me.
Oh, no. You're more than forgiven. Would you think it forward of me if I were to call you by your Christian name? It's Robert, isn't it?
Yes.
Robert. Oh, that's a fine, manly name. Robert. Mine is Enid. More tea?
Oh, thank you. Miss Simmons. Miss Simmons.
Yes?
Mrs. Arkwright. She lives alone.
Oh, quite alone, except, of course, for myself and the servants.
But it is not her house, is it?
Oh, no. Mr. Arkwright left the house in trust for his married daughter.
That was awkward for her.
Oh, well, Mrs. Arkwright is allowed to live in the house rent-free for as long as she chooses.
Oh, I see. Like the Amazon in the warehouse.
Have you met Mrs. Gamble? Oh, she's a dreadful, vulgar woman. But you see, Mr. Arkwright was determined to make provision for all his workers.
And for his wife?
Oh, well, she has a small income from shares in a railway company, I believe, but it isn't enough for her to realise her dearest wish.
Oh, which is?
You see, Mrs. Arkwright is of French extraction, and she's often expressed a desire of one day returning to live in France. In La Rochelle.
Oh, La Rochelle?
Oh, she was born and spent her childhood there.
Oh, well, why did she go?
Well, she'd need to buy a residence, you see.
Oh, I see. That's why she needs the £650. Will you go with her?
Oh, no. She'll travel alone. She's made that matter quite plain.
And what will become of you?
I shall manage.
You have friends, relatives.
I'm quite alone.
But you have money saved.
No, I'm an unpaid companion, you see.
But surely she won't pitch you out into the street.
An employer is not required to justify his actions to an employee, Robert.
No, of course not. I know that, but it's monstrous. Well, believe me, Miss Simmons, I shall do everything in my power to see that you do not suffer the consequences of the event. Mr. Cullen. Mr. Cullen, may I present Miss Simmons? Miss Simmons, Mr. Cullen.
More than delighted to make the acquaintance of such a charming companion.
Yes, well, it's purely a matter of business, Mr. Cullen. A matter of business.
Business? You pay the lady a poor compliment, Robert.
No, it's perfectly true. You see, Miss Simmons and I were discussing the warehouse, were we not, Miss Simmons?
That's an odd topic of conversation for a tete-a-tete.
No, you see, it's James' idea, you see. Mrs. Arkwright wishes to sell...
Sam Arkwright's old place, eh? So you're acting on behalf of Mrs. Arkwright, are you, Miss Simmons?
Yes. No, that is, yes and no. Oh. You see, it was a chance meeting and a cup of tea and private conversation.
Oh, well, I've no wish to intrude on your private business, Robert, my boy. My regards to your wife.
Oh, thank you, I will convey them.
And I understand you're to be congratulated. A fine, bouncing boy, eh?
7 pounds, 12 ounces.
Yes, another little Onedin to plague us, eh? Well, good day, Miss Simmons. I'm delighted to have made your acquaintance. Robert?
Mr. Cullen. Miss Simmons, I beg of you...
Thank you for the tea, Mr. Onedin. I trust you have all the information you require.
Miss Simmons, I meant every word that I... Miss... Damn James and his blasted schemes.
You blabbermouth!
It was a most embarrassing situation.
Callan, of all people, that I've got my eye on that warehouse.
Damn you and your warehouse, James! I'll never be able to look that woman in the face again.
And are you sure Callan knows nothing of Mrs. Arkwright's desire to live in La Rochelle?
I'm positive.
Well, that's something. La Rochelle. Right. Delroux. Monsieur Delroux, right?
What?
Man I know. Deals in property in Bordeaux.
Come now, my pretty, you mustn't be seen weeping.
How long are you going to be away?
Not long, only across the North Sea for timber.
How long?
A month, less with luck. You there, put your back into vaginal scarring!
And we are to be married the moment you return.
Of course. There, my love, you must accustom yourself to partings. We can't have a bold captain's wife smuffling on the quayside.
You're not a captain yet.
No, not yet, dear.
And I'm not yet your wife.
No, not yet.
If you think I'll wait forever, you're vastly mistaken. I'll be at no man's beck and call.
No one expects you to be so.
You clumsy, lazy, frostbitten loafers. You dozy iron mother forsaken Irishman. Still you got to you work hard smart, you. Most enliven them up there.
Oh, stupid, lovely, thick-headed jabbernows that never got here. I'm sorry, my love, but a dockside is no place for a lady. I really must go aboard.
Then please do so.
You will wait for me?
Daniel, there's something I have to tell you.
What is it?
I think I'm going to have...
Mr. Fogarty, is it your pleasure to sail with us, or do you intend to go barnacles ashore?
I really must go aboard, dear, at once.
Daniel, wait!
Remember to write.
Daniel! Daniel!
Our profit to date is £37.
I thought it nearer to 70 or 80.
You hadn't taken these into account.
Bills.
There's one here for £12 for Cooperage alone.
£37.
You'd do well to forget your warehouse for a while.
No. I'll find the money somehow.
No, thank you, James. Look, I do not pretend to understand what a limited company means, but I want no part of it. Do you know that I owe £13 from our partnership? Do you know that?
Yeah, but this time you shall incur no debts.
I shall not, because I shall not be involved.
Look, this new Act of Parliament is designed specifically to limit the liability of shareholders such as yourself.
Not a penny, James, not another penny more.
Robert, listen to James.
You're the one that's always telling me not to be involved in James and his harebrained schemes.
Look, with a limited liability company, a shareholder can only be asked to forfeit his original investment.
Investment? Ah, you are asking for money.
Not a penny piece. Look, you shall have a seat on the board of directors and 15% shareholdings.
What board of directors?
You and I, that's all the law requires.
15%, is that all? Then who gets all the... No, don't tell me. You do.
Oh, look, damn it, man, I do all the work.
Then now, why not keep all yourself?
Hush, Robert. Remember the baby.
Because I'm thinking of your son, Robert, and his future. And now is the youngest of the Onedins, eh?
He's got lungs of brass as well.
Ah, kept us awake all last night.
And such a monstrous appetite. What do you think of that, you little monster? Your father, a company director.
Hmm. There's a little choke. There'll be no further call on my pocket. I shall want it in writing.
I shall have lawyers. Draw up articles of association right away. You can have your copy checked by any lawyer that takes your fancy.
Because I know you of old, James. There's more in this than meets the eye. It is that warehouse, isn't it?
Yes. I intend to buy it.
How do you propose to raise this money?
Right. The company borrows on its assets by ship. I stand to lose most, therefore I take most. And I shall go ahead with or without you, Robert.
Look, she's asking £650. Now, you'll not raise that sum of money against the Charlotte Road.
No, I shall raise 250 against her, and another 200 by mortgaging the warehouse itself.
And that comes to £450. Mrs. Arkwright is asking for £650.
Leave that problem with me, will you?
All right. There is just one thing, though.
Mm-hmm.
What about Miss Simmons?
You're not really smitten with that lady, are you?
Look, I just feel sorry for that poor woman, that's all, nothing more.
What do you want for this, Miss Simmons, eh?
That if Mrs. Arkwright refuses to take her to France with her, she will be found a suitable position. Otherwise, that poor woman will be left to destitution.
Look, when will you learn not to meddle in other people's affairs, Robert?
James.
Very well. I shall find Miss Simmons a suitable position.
I have your word.
Mm-hmm.
You lazy cow! If I catch you loitering outside again, you'll feel the black price snap across the backside, I tell you. You can't get away from it. Yes, lady. And how can I oblige? Anything you fancy? All goods, highly recommended.
My husband is interested in purchasing these premises. I thought I might take a look around. I'm Mrs. Onedin.
Ooh, make yourself at home, Mrs. I shall take a mug of tea.
No, thank you, Mrs. Gamble.
That's a drop of something to cut the phlegm. I don't usually indulge myself, but I do find a drop of Hollands an excellent remedy for the tubes. It's the dust in the atmosphere, you see.
A drop of soap and water and a bucket of tool whitewash would do more to settle the dust than an ocean of alcohol.
God bless you, lady. They catch a desk of cold. Damp floors and a cold night air's taken many a poor soul to a maker.
Do you mean they sleep here?
Well, where else would they sleep? In a rookery? 30 to a room and open to all the vices of mankind? No. Here they're well fed, well paid, and snug as so many bugs in a rug.
And what is the purpose of the strap?
To vigorate a man. Oh, God bless you, lady. They're better off than pigeons in a roost. See you've a sharp eye for a bargain, lady. That comes from the house of one of the nobility.
Whose country seat would appear to be in Birmingham.
Leave that alone. Now, there's a prettier pair of candlesticks as I ever set eyes upon. You wouldn't find more sumptuous objects than the treasure house of Solomon himself.
How much?
Now, there's a question I'm hard put to answer, taking into consideration the workmanship and garnishments.
How much?
Oh, I couldn't possibly take less than £2 a pair.
They're obviously of more value to you than to me. Good afternoon, Mrs. Gamble.
Well, don't be too hasty, lady. For the sake of goodwill, I'll cut my losses. 18 and 6.
8 and 6.
Done. You're driving a hard bargain, lady.
Think yourself fortunate you're not dealing with my husband. He takes hoof, hide and hair.
Ma'am.
So, Mr. Onedin wishes to favour us with another visit. Very well, Ethel, you may show the gentleman in.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Onedin,
I've come to make further offer for the warehouse.
you agree to the price?
Your price, as I understand it, is the acquisition of a suitable residence in France. La Rochelle?
You've had the effrontery to pry into my private affairs.
It's a plain matter of business.
Where did you come by this information?
In exchange for the warehouse, I'll undertake to purchase this suitable residence, ship you and your goods free of charge to La Rochelle.
You may leave us, Simmons. I will speak to you later. A suitable property in La Rochelle? And a free passage?
That's right.
Since you last came, I've had a better offer. £700 in cash.
Oh, no man in his senses would pay some. Did this better offer come from a Mr. Cullen? I'll see that it did. And I can tell you, Mrs. Arkwright, that offer is worthless.
I have it in writing.
May I see it? This is but a letter.
£700. It's there in black and white.
Subject to contract. A lawyer's trick. Has your own lawyer advised you?
No.
Well, I should consult him without delay.
You say this offer is worthless?
In my opinion,
Well, why should Mr. Cullen make such an offer?
to push my nose out of joint.
Your enemies.
Rivals.
It's subject to contract.
Oh, means what it says, no more, no less. Cullen can withdraw his offer the moment that you reject mine. I'll sail within the week.
I know that you've forced Mrs. Arkwright to sell you the warehouse, but where are you going to find storage space for your casks with Mrs. Gamble and her drudges still in possession?
Well, I shall let them out.
But how? Neither Mrs. Arkwright nor Mr. Cullen could find a loophole in the covenant. How can you hope to?
Documents are drawn up by lawyers for lawyers. More ways of killing a pig than choking it with butter.
But how?
I don't know. Yet.
I think I've struck an even better bargain than I expected.
Huh?
I thought these were plated, but unless I'm mistaken, that's the silver mark of the Chester Assay offices. I think these sconces are solid silver.
Wonder Mrs. Gamble knew their true value.
She named a high price for junk. She wanted £2 at first, but settled for 8 and 6.
Did she now?
Who in their right mind would throw out silver candlesticks?
Anne, you're a handball genius.
James, where are you going?
What?
A thieves' kitchen. You are a fence.
You can't say things like that. You're taking away my character.
Well, then explain this.
Oh, I came in with the junk. It's them junk men. Thieves, every one of them.
Ah, so you deal with known thieves,
I didn't
do you?
say that.
Well, then you wouldn't mind an officer of the law coming to search these premises, would you?
Oh, I've never knowingly bought nothing from nobody, knowing it to be stole.
Well, then you've nothing to be afraid of, have you? In fact, you could perform a public service by laying on information.
What?
Against those rogues who've taken advantage of your good nature.
Oh, I couldn't do that. I'd wake up one fine morning with my throat slit.
You set me a pretty problem, Mrs. Gamble, you know. I can't possibly allow my good name to be tarnished by allowing these premises to be used by thieves and rogues. Well, my duty's plain.
Oh, just a minute, sir. Well, I don't want to be no bother, sir. I understand what you mean about thieves and such visiting your premises. Well, I could turn them all away, but how am I to know the thieves from the honest ones? Well, I can't turn them all away, can I? Oh, it's me living, after all.
What do you suggest I do, Mrs. Gamble, eh?
Well, I could take other premises to carry on my business. Of course, I'd be out of pocket.
Would 10 sovereigns help?
Come on, you lot, we're moving. Get on with it.
Come on, Brother Robert.
Okay, come on, then. Pick up those things. Come on, you ladies.
Miss Simmons, what are you... Miss Simmons!
Well, now you can earn your supper tonight.
You vile...
Every button is a penny, you know. Come on, then. Come on.
Miss Simmons, this is not of my doing, believe me.
Come on, Robert, we've work to do.
What about you lot up there? Didn't you hear me? We want to...
Why is Miss Simmons here?
Give me a hand with this.
Why is Miss Simmons here?
Robert, when will you learn not to meddle in other people's affairs, eh?
You gave me your word that you would find this woman a suitable position.
Well, is this a suitable task for 2 company directors nailing up a signboard? Now grab hold of that end and let's get the ruddy thing up.
James!
£150.
A gentleman cannot live on air.
Where is it all gone? Oh, no, don't tell me. New suits, dining out, all your past debts.
Paid, all paid. Last I can hold up my head again.
What am I to do with him?
It's his cottage. Was his cottage.
I didn't expect him to foreclose so soon. It's that rogue Callan. He bought up my note and squeezed me dry.
Mr. Callan?
Yes, he's a vengeful man. And who shall blame him?
What on earth possessed you to borrow money that you couldn't pay back?
You seem to do it all the time. But of course I am a gentleman.
That'll be the bailiffs come to take possession.
Don't let him in. Don't let him in.
At least we shall have a roof over our heads.
Good evening. And a nice fine one, eh, Mrs. Onedin?
James, we can't live here.
A roof, I said. That's all. Till we get a house of our own.
No blankets, there's some food. Hello there, lassie. Do you think we'll ever jump this ship again?